20 KDKA. This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi from Schultz Ford. And I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star. And boy, do we have a star with us today. Your life story is amazing, so amazing that it became a movie. Welcome to Cars, Stars, and everything in between. Vince Papale, how are you?
Great, Bubba. Thanks, Richard, and Chelsea. Thanks for you in the background too. That's a
Welcome.
great team.
Welcome to our show. I mean, it's not every day that we talk to or even know of very many people that have had a movie made about them, let alone a Disney movie, let alone Mark Wahlberg starring in the movie.
Yeah, I'm looking. Around here. There's in our room. I'm right now in Philly, and I'm looking around, and I see the movie poster and the clothes that my kids wore in the movie. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's actually a wild story. It just came out of nowhere, but.
And by the way, the movie was called Invincible, in case people don't know.
Yeah.
But the most important part to me is when I look at the movie, when I look at your life, and I really want to hear the details of it. But really, there's two words in my mind that sum up your whole life, and that's overcoming adversity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you, boy, you said you have children still, and I don't know how old they are, but especially in this world today, those words, overcoming adversity, are especially useful because it seems like our youth has really had more instances and circumstances to overcome than we had before.
They sure do. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are being thrown at them, and right now, with social media and the impact that can make, it's what is, what isn't, and it's very difficult. I'm pretty lucky. My Vinny will be he'll be 27 this year, this month actually, and he University of Delaware grad. He played a couple of years USFL, and it looks like there might be a merger there. My daughter Gabby is a 29-year-old, so they're sort of beyond all that, and right now and doing what they're doing, they're very successful. But I'm blessed. I don't know if I'd want to be raising kids right now, and I certainly wouldn't want to be raising kids if they were in grammar school because I would probably be in jail.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that about you. I do. I love that about you. So talk about it because you were a special teams guru, right?
That's what they said. Yeah.
Yeah, but the greatest part, see, I'd love to play special teams too, and I'm just a little. I'm not big. I'm nothing. But the greatest part about they call that the suicide squad, right?
Yeah, the bomb squads. But yeah.
Right. So they're guys that are willing to give up their body. The guys that just love contact. Mm-hmm. And I can tell just by looking at the glow in your face right now, that's you. You love contact. What the heck would possess you at 30 years old to decide you want to play pro football?
Richard, it was just there. I mean, I can only say it was just there. I was actually in real life, and they didn't go back a few years in my past. When they picked up the movie. And the guys that did the movie were the same guys that did Miracle and Rookie, and and also American Underdog and Secretariat. All underdog stories, really, really great kind of stuff. But in Rookie, they trace back to Jim Morris's in his life. Like Rudy's a good buddy of mine. Rudy went back a little bit, and mine they just picked it up at a certain period after I had been a school teacher at my alma mater in suburban Philadelphia. I was a head track coach, assistant football coach, working on my master's degree, and trying to qualify for the Olympic trials in the decathlon. I was a pole vaulter, and so that's maybe what led me to becoming a special teamer because I'm dropping from 15, 16 feet in the sawdust before they had the foam pits. There was like no fear kind of a thing. But the rules changed so much, though, guys, and they're trying to take away that bomb squad aspect of it.
So, I mean, I've tried to imagine. I mean, I know I'm not of age, but I've imagined trying to compete and be on the field and absorbing one of those hits. I don't think my body could take one of those hits today.
Well, they've taken a little bit of it away right now, especially with the kickoffs. They eliminated the wedge, and I think we broke off there for a second. But the guy that was the wedge breaker was my best friend and teammate Dennis Franks from Michigan, and he grew up in Bethel Park. And great star. And I was always a big Steelers fan, but then he was a wedge breaker, and my job was to just come in behind it and just wipe out the ball carrier, and he'd fly himself in there. Now what they've done is they're kicking the guys that are covering the kickoffs now have to stay still. They can't get the running start, and they've eliminated the wedge, and they moved the kickoff up a few yards. So only maybe 10% of any kickoffs are returned. And now they came up with a stupid rule that you can fair catch the ball on a kickoff, and you can fair catch a ball on the 18-yard line and be surrounded by a whole bunch of people, and you can bring the ball out to the 25. I don't get that. But they're trying to, and I get it. They're trying to eliminate or at least minimize the injuries because of the high impact. And these guys are so gosh darn fast right now and so strong.
I mean, they really are.
Yeah, I can see where the NFL is coming from.
Vince, I do have a question I need for clarification. Maybe I missed something here. So what is the highest level of football that you actually played before you played in the NFL at the age of 30?
All right. Well, I played 1 year of high school football. And then from there, I got a track scholarship to St. Joe's, and St. Joe's in Philadelphia didn't have a football team. And then I was playing in the rough touch leagues, the bar leagues, and it was at that point when I got my season tickets to the Philadelphia Eagles when they were at Franklin Field. And then actually, what happened was when my aspirations to become a decathlete, Olympic decathlete, dissolved, I started playing semi-pro football. It's like playing for pizza. If you ever read that book, it's really a great book. You got to read it. And so I was basically playing for a 6-pack of beer and a pair of shoes, and that actually, I had a great game against a team up in Binghamton, New York, and the guy that was the coach of that team became the general manager of the Philadelphia Bell of the original World Football League, and that's where Zonka, Kick, and Warfield defected to, and they went to Memphis. And the irony is, my son played for the Memphis Showboats in the USFL. But so I took a shot at that, and believe it or not, I made it. And the league folded, and I was substitute teaching and bartending. And that's when Coach Vermeil in '76 came in and had that free agent tryout. And, and it was there. Like I said, I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was a season ticket holder. I love the Eagles, and I thought that I could make a contribution. And he had this all-comer free agent tryout. And, the guys in Philadelphia, Jimmy Murray, the general manager, and they when Dick Vermeil came in, they knew me from my track aspect, but they never knew me as a football player. But they said, "What the hell? Which one more guy?" So they let me come in, and wouldn't you know it, that I was the only guy of all those guys who were there, and they signed me right after that tryout. I wish I had showed that in the movie. I signed for $21,000 right after that tryout was over, and then I got to train. I got to train for 4 months at Veterans Stadium with that great turf. And my mentor was Roman Gabriel, the All-Pro from the Rams.
Yep.
And he was teaching me how to run routes, and he was throwing to me every day, and had me ready for training camp. So it wasn't as daunting as most people would think.
Wow. By the way, if you're just tuning in, the Car Stars and everything in between, our amazing guest today is Vince Papale. When we come back, we got more questions because you've done far more than your 3 years in the NFL for the Eagles. We'll get into that and more. This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between on 100.1 FM, AM 1020, KDKA. More with Vince Papale when we return.
It's great.
Good one. Great. Jeez, that was a quick 9 minutes.
Yeah, you're amazing.
So so it looks like the USFL and the XFL are merging.
Yeah.
And there's already been some activity on our side of the fence. So we'll see.
I think that's great. I think that makes it more viable.
Yeah, I do. And there was a lot of talent out there, and they were competing against each other. And Fox really had a great year. The ratings were fantastic.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yep, give me 1 second. And here we go. 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA. This is Car Stars and Everything in Between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi from Schultz Ford at schultzford.com. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star. And today our guest is Vince Papale. If you ever saw the Mark Wahlberg movie Invincible, you were the man that Mark Wahlberg played. When you found out that Mark Wahlberg was playing you, what was your first thought?
I really didn't know who Mark was, actually. I watched some of the movies that he was in, and I called my buddy who knows everything about movies, and he just says, you got Marky Mark from the Funky Bunch playing you, dude. Whatever. But it was great. Mark and I are still friends. But with Lake Richard, I'm full time down in Florida now, and Mark he's got this new tequila like everybody has out. And he was in Delray when we got a chance to see him. And he hadn't seen my wife in 5 years. And as soon as he saw Janet, he says, "Oh my God, my family's here." It was really cool. So awesome. Mark was great to work with. He worked his ass off. And I got a chance to train him 2 weeks prior to the movie, and gave him all the drills that I had to run through when I was there with the Philadelphia Eagles. And he just absorbed it. And we had a great time, and are still good friends.
Well, that's disappointing to hear that you're good friends with him, because he's also a car dealer.
Yeah,
he is not from a friendly brand. We compete, so I'm throwing down to you. So listen, and I actually saw him in Delray. He was tending bar, got everybody excited about his tequila.
Yeah,
and Delray is a wonderful place, as you know. But my question starts way before all this, because football wasn't anything new to overcoming adversity to you. But somewhere along the line, and I want to talk about some of the personal things that you've gone through still, somewhere down the line, was your father an inspiration to overcoming adversities? Did you learn that from him, what you saw?
Tremendously, yeah. My father worked at Westinghouse. He only got to the 8th grade. He grew up during the Great Depression, World War II, and he was a fantastic athlete, semi-pro football and baseball player. And my mother played in a league, like a league of their own.
Oh wow!
She played hardball. Was a fantastic athlete, and actually she had aspirations to perhaps be an Olympic, whatever the 5 events the women were doing back then. But she was overcome with anxiety and depression, and my mother eventually wound up in a mental hospital when I was growing up and going through puberty. So I was struggling, man. But I had a teacher, my coach, George Corner, and he was there for me the entire time this was all going on. My dad was working his butt off trying to keep the house together and keep me and my sister together. And, it just all worked out. A lot of people can use that as an excuse for failing or bailing out. For me, I use it as a motivation to succeed.
Yeah. And I think that's a very interesting story. I did not know the answer to the question, but I can tell that it's inbred in you, that this isn't just a learned behavior. This is something that you are. And your current wife, or your wife, is also Olympic.
Well, yeah. I'm looking right over my shoulder at all of her. It's a bunch of the plaques and stuff that she got. She competed on the USA World Gymnastics team,
right,
back in the Munich days. She had qualified for the Olympics, but she couldn't compete because of an injury. But she did compete worldwide for 3 or 4 years, and a knee injury blew it out. This was what's really interesting. She wound up going to Penn State, and she couldn't compete anymore in gymnastics because they didn't do reconstruction. They just put these knees back together back then. But she started diving for Penn State, and she wound up setting all Penn State's diving records, and she actually got invited to the Olympic trials. But we're all together now, and she's been a realtor here in Philadelphia for 41 years, and we have the Papale group, and Gabby, Vinny, and Janet comprise that in 3 states, including Florida.
Vince, do you have any Papales in Pittsburgh? I remember growing up in Greenfield and there being some Papales.
Yeah, they're all over the place. You just lift that rock and we come out.
Vince,
Yeah, there's a few Papales there.
so I want to just make a comment, and the first comment is, I'm really sorry to hear about your mom, but with the prevalent attitude today, or mental health is such a big issue right now,
Mhm.
and I'm sorry that your mom suffered from that, because today's world might have been a very different outcome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because back then it was shunned, and
Yeah,
it was like poo poo. And I
yeah.
was bullied a lot, because I grew up in a housing project and oh, your mother's a nut. I mean, I went through all that stuff.
See,
And
I went through that too. People don't understand that.
yeah,
When they talk about bullying, and I mean, I got to tell you, I'm not blonde hair, I'm not blue eyes, and if you weren't where I grew up, I mean, we called all the slang Italian names, and I
mhm.
was Italian and Syrian. That's a bad combo, right?
Yeah.
So so we had all that, and we grew up with it, but it does make you tougher. But you're right, it was a very different world then,
Mhm.
and I don't mean to take it in that direction, but it's a very different world today with the awareness of the mental health, and that was what we were alluding to when we talked about youth growing up today. So that, and then the other thing I wanted to ask you was, you've also overcome cancer, is that right?
Yeah, colon cancer in 20 in '01. I got a colonoscopy and I had it. So they ripped 18 inches of my colon out through my navel. Did it laparoscopically, and no chemo, no radiation, really no sweat. And so here I am. So I'm an advocate for that. And then I'm also an advocate for mental health. That's why I was up in Philly, speaking to a company called Neuroflow, when there's this thing bridging the gap between physical wellness and mental wellness, and bringing them together, because now there's so much of that going on and they're beginning to recognize it. So,
They go hand in hand.
oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. And that's what they're called. That's why they call it bridging the gap.
I love that. One hit, you hit somebody. What's that one hit that stands out in your mind?
Well, this poor guy was from the Washington Redskins. It was toward the end of the game, and they were about ready to drive that ball in and kick the winning field goal and beat us. And I caught him a little bit off guard. Actually, it was a combination of the scene at the end of the movie where I clocked that guy and called the audible, the check zero thing. But man, I'll tell you, I just blew him up. And he fumbled the ball, and Denny Franks recovered it. My Bethel Park guy, and that picture right over there, they took that picture and it wound up in the Hall of Fame. So
Wow.
yeah, that was the hit. I'll never forget it.
You also had one reception for 15 yards in your career, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I had a lot in the preseason, but coach wanted to save me and save my body for the big hits. But yeah, it was Rowan Gabriel's last completion, and that was my only reception in the NFL against the fledgling Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was the beginning of their season coming into Philadelphia.
So one more thing I do want to ask: how close to reality is the movie for you? Does it track very well with you? And then the other thing is, I also see Greg Kinnear played Dick Vermeil.
Oh, he was phenomenal. And, Dick really liked Kinnear. Kinnear actually went down to Kansas City and studied Dick for 3 or 4 days prior to the shooting of the movie. He just nailed it. Elizabeth Banks played my wife, Janet. Look, Coach Vermeil says it best. He said, it's not a documentary. It's a biopic. And so they changed a few things around, but, they captured the essence of it. And like you said, it's just overcoming adversity or obstacles or the impossible, those kinds of things. And it's the kind of thing that I hope, kids, it's sort of fun. I just did the Eagles game against Washington. I tailgated. They ride me around in a golf cart, and we're tailgating all over. Wow. And the reaction that I got from the fans was just incredible. I mean, I haven't, and it was just insane, just because I was one of them. I was a season ticket holder that wound up on the field.
All right, this is amazing, Vince Papale. If people want to find out more about you, you have a website as well, correct?
Yeah, VincePapale.com. And if anybody wants to book me, that's how they can do it.
Wow, fantastic.